Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of the Canary Islands, which belong to Spain. This is a little cutaway of this map of Africa. They're located near, you can see over here, the coastlines of Morocco and Western Sahara, not too far off there. The Canary Islands are part of an island group known as Macaronesia. Macaronesia is in the Atlantic Ocean and consists of the Azores, which are much farther north, along with Madeira, which you can see a little cutaway of right there, and also Cape Verde or Cabo Verde, which is to the south of the Canary Islands. There are quite a few islands in this archipelago, but the main ones are Hierro, La Palma, Gomera, Tenerife, which is how we say it in English, Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Fuerteventura, and Lanzarote. There's a couple of little other islands. They're all uninhabited except for Graciosa up here. It's a little bit of habitation there, but the rest are rocks in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, each island has some very distinct geographies. It's really quite interesting. Hierro is pretty green. It has some pretty amazing cliffs. La Palma is also somewhat green, but has a massive, massive volcano in the middle. They're all volcanic islands. They all have volcanoes, but this one's like mostly volcano. Gomera has some beautiful, lush forests, whereas Tenerife's forests are more in the north, around the Taida National Park there on the Taida volcano, and it gets much drier in the south where there's lots of beautiful beaches. Gran Canaria is nicknamed the continent because it has pretty much a little bit of everything in terms of geography. It's got mountains, forests, deserts, the coastline, so on and so forth. Whereas Fuerteventura is almost entirely desertified. It's got those Sahara Sirocco winds coming up here from the Sahara Desert, blasting it. It's got some gorgeous beaches though, and some neat sandbar areas, especially down here. It's pretty much all sand down there. And then Lanzarote has a bunch of volcanoes on it. It had a massive eruption that pretty much covered this whole area, and it's all very volcanic, all this cool black rock and such. And it's also a national park. It's the Timanfaya National Park. Also helps the wine crop there, the volcanic soil there. So it's almost like a lunar landscape there. It's very beautiful. Now, there are a bunch of national parks. That's my kitten crawling around the desk, sorry. There's a bunch of national parks throughout the Canary Islands. 3 of them are UNESCO sites. So let me grab my tablet over here and we will read about them. Make sure that you can see in frame there. Perfect. Starting with Garhone National Park. Laurel Forest covers some 70% of this park, situated in the middle of the island of La Gomera in the Canary Islands archipelago. The presence of springs and numerous streams assures a lush vegetation resembling that of the Tertiary, which, due to climatic changes, has largely disappeared from southern Europe. Of course, we're going to look at all of these places on Google Earth, but you can see that, like it said, like the Tertiary, it's kind of like prehistoric looking. It's very jungly, very wild, very beautiful, of course. Beautiful cliffs there. Yeah, it's the kind of landscape you really wouldn't associate with an island life, huh? Looks very much like it's like in the center of a continent or something. Here's the Taida National Park, definitely the most famous one. Situated on the island of Tenerife, Taida National Park features the Taida Pico Viejo stratovolcano that, at 3,718 meters, is the highest peak on Spanish soil. Rising 7,500 meters above the ocean floor, it is regarded as the world's third tallest volcanic structure and stands in a spectacular environment. The visual impact of the site is all the greater due to atmospheric conditions that create constantly changing textures and tones in the landscape, and a sea of clouds that forms a visually impressive backdrop to the mountain. Taida is of global importance in providing evidence of the geological processes that underpin the evolution of oceanic islands. See, like it said, it's the tallest mountain in Spain. It's a good classic volcano there. You saw it in the intro. It dominates Tenerife, the center of Tenerife. And like it said, it's the third tallest volcano, but that's if you measure it from the ocean floor. So, very neat. Of course, we're going to look at that. Let's look at this one next. Risco Caído in the Sacred Mountains of Gran Canaria Cultural Landscape. Located in the vast mountainous area in the center of Gran Canaria, Risco Caído comprises cliffs, ravines, and volcanic formations in a landscape of rich biodiversity. The landscape includes a large number of troglodyte settlements, habitats, granaries, and cisterns, whose age is proof of the presence of a pre-Hispanic culture on the island, which has evolved in isolation from the arrival of North African Amazigh around the beginning of our era until the first Spanish settlers in the 15th century. The troglodyte complex also includes cold cavities and two sacred temples, or almogarines, Risco Caído and Roque Bentayga, where seasonal ceremonies are held. These temples are thought to be linked to a possible cult of the stars and Mother Earth. So yeah, another really beautiful mountainous area in the middle of Gran Colombia. And as you can tell, the skies are very clear, and many of these islands have telescopes and astronomical centers on them. But it sounds like this one mostly focuses on the rock sites, the cave dwellings of the indigenous people that we'll talk about in just a moment when we start talking about history. But lastly, we're going to talk about the town of San Cristobal de la Laguna. I feel like I'm forgetting a site, but I don't know what it is. So if I did forget one, let me know in the comments. It's that feeling like when you're packing for a trip and you feel like you've forgotten something, but you didn't, but it feels like you did. It feels like that. Let me know. San Cristobal de la Laguna in the Canary Islands has two nuclei, the original unplanned upper town and the lower town, the first ideal city territory laid out according to philosophical principles. Its wide streets and open spaces have a number of fine churches and public and private buildings dating from the 16th to the 18th century. So this town was the first capital of the islands. It is no longer. We'll talk about that, since the Canary Islands actually has two capitals right now, and none of them is this town. But it has very ancient origins and some interesting history around it, which I don't think we're going to get into because there's a whole bunch of history we need to discuss. But according to the video here, many indigenous peoples were forced to move into this town, and they built a road in the middle, and the Spanish lived on one side and the indigenous peoples lived on the other. Interesting. I didn't find any other sources that said that, so we're not really going to talk about that, but I thought that was interesting. So let's talk about this indigenous culture here. Actually, let me check my notes, make sure that I got everything. Yeah, we'll talk about capital cities later. The indigenous peoples of the Canary Islands are known as the Guanche. Now, technically, the Guanche only lived on Tenerife, and many other different peoples lived on the other islands, but they're all grouped in the name Guanche, right? So just know that there were many other different cultures. There were various kingdoms that split islands in half or into many pieces in terms of Tenerife. And various dynasties among those kingdoms as well. But they're all collectively known as the Guanche today. They arrived from North Africa probably around the year 200 BCE, but it could be even like thousands of years before that. We're not positive. And like it said on UNESCO, some of them lived in caves, like troglodyte housing. Depending on which island they were on, they had different lifestyles and diets and such. Since each island is pretty different. Now, according to, I think it was Pliny the Elder, King Juba of Numidia, which was an ancient kingdom in North Africa, had an expedition out to these islands, and that expedition found that there were many very aggressive dogs living on these islands, and they brought two back to King Juba II. And so they named the islands after these dogs. It's not named after the birds. You can find canary birds on these islands. The birds are named after the islands. The islands come from, I guess the Latin word would be canis, since the Romans kept the name going. Pretty interesting, isn't that? It's not named after the birds. The birds are named after the islands. That is kind of a myth, though. Just according to one story, but the name stuck, and it's how the Romans knew it, and that's how we know it today. The islands, though, had contact with many ancient peoples, the Phoenicians, the Greeks, Carthaginians, of course the Romans, later the Arabs. So these people didn't live in isolation, the Guanches. They had contact with many peoples from Europe and Africa, but it was never an assimilated culture, and no one ever really stuck around for very long. Until the 14th century, when the Spanish came into contact with these islands and started to slowly settle, mainly like missionaries and things like that, but slowly but surely people started to settle here from Spain, much to the chagrin of the indigenous peoples, of course. In 1402, Spain decided it was time to colonize these islands. They sent a man named Jean de Betancourt to do just that. He came and started to conquer, started to subdue the Guanches, who fought back tirelessly. Of course, the Spanish would come in full force. There were many wars and battles on these islands between the Spanish and the Guanches. The Spanish leading technically a genocide against these people. One by one, the islands fell until the last one to fall was Tenerife in 1496. It was almost 100 years of fighting for this land until the Spanish fully conquered it. In 1497, Spain signed a treaty with Portugal, which allowed Spain to have control of the Canary Islands and gave Portugal the rest of Micronesia, the Azores, Madeira, and Cabo Verde down there. And it's been Spanish ever since. The initial crop grown on these islands was sugarcane, which is a very arduous crop to grow, very demanding. So the Spanish kidnapped people from Africa, sent them to the islands here as slaves to work those plantations. Later, wine became big business here, especially on Lanzarote. And much later would be bananas. Today it's tourism. It's the big industry here, but it was sugarcane for quite a while until the Caribbean sugar industry really started to boom. That was only when the Canaries decided to start diversifying their crops. Now, there were many pirate attacks on these islands. There's far too many to mention. Pretty much if you can think of a famous pirate, corsair, buccaneer, whatever you want to call them, they attacked these islands at some point between the 1500s into the 1800s. Pretty much like every pirate that I've ever heard of has attempted to invade these islands, I suppose, loot them, right? The worst attack was in 1599 here in Las Palmas in Gran Canaria, where the pirates destroyed the entire town. There were many successful pirate raids. There were some unsuccessful ones. So Canary Islands were a target. There was a big battle in Tenerife jumping to 1797 when the British tried to take the islands. They were led by Horatio Nelson. And it was during that battle that he lost his arm, very famously. Jumping ahead yet again to 1912, this was when the islands were granted self-governance. Now, even today, but definitely back then, these islands were two different provinces. There's one over here and one over here. So the capital of this province was Santa Cruz de Tenerife. The capital of this province was Las Palmas. So once self-governance became a thing and the islands all controlled each other, under the Spanish crown, of course, they thought, well, what should be the capital, this city or this city? And they decided to let them both be the capital. So today, the Canary Islands has two capital cities, one on each of these islands. In 1982, these islands were granted autonomy. So they are still technically part of Spain, but they make their own rules, which is pretty neat. Especially considering that they had just gone through all of the Franco dictatorship and what have you in Spain. Not a good time to be in Spain. Not as bad in the Canaries as it was on the mainland, but still pretty bad. A tragedy occurred on Tenerife in 1977. An independence group planted a bomb at the airport here at Las Palmas. So many planes that were flying to the Canaries diverted from this airport to this airport. And in that chaos, two very large commercial planes full of passengers collided. And it killed around, it was like 585 people. It was the worst aviation accident in history, the deadliest accident. Apparently a lot has changed in air traffic control since then, as many aviation disasters usually lead to changes to make everything safer. That's still very sad, isn't it? Also, many times throughout history, there have been volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, small tsunamis from those earthquakes, various natural disasters that happens when you're living around active volcanoes, right? Very seismic. Landslides, things like that. There have been a lot of very major eruptions, but there is a very interesting one on La Palma down here in the south in 2021, where a chain of volcanoes down here erupted in a big way and actually led to the formation of a new volcano. I wanted to make a list of all of the major eruptions, but it was way too long. There were a bunch. Over here, like every active volcano here has had a major eruption in the past 300 years. So I didn't bother making a list, but I thought that one was pretty interesting, even though it was very devastating to the island and the people living there. Yeah, new volcano was born at that event. And that, in a nutshell, is the history of the Canary Islands. Now, time to hop over to Google Earth and take a look around. It's going to be a while because there is so much to see. If I don't go over something that you watching this think should have been covered, let me know in the comments down below, and we'll make sure that we can all go check that out ourselves on Google Earth. So I'd love to see too, but there's just so much to see in these islands. There's too much to look at. I'll try to show you highlights, but can't guarantee everything because there's just so much. So why don't we hop over to my tablet and check out the Canary Islands on Google Earth. Here we are in the Canary Islands. Let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Here we go. You can see the coast of Northwest Africa here. Right there you can see Morocco, Western Sahara. They're pretty much right on the border of that disputed area. I know all the Moroccans watching this will be like, Western Sahara, wah, 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 wah. But if I don't mention it, I'll get actually, that's Western Sahara. So whatever you want to call it, that's what you call it. But here we are. You can see Spain's right up here. We have the other islands all throughout. You can see all the various volcanic peaks up there. That's the Azores up there. The Azores, surely. Yes, okay. We've got Madeiras up here, part of Portugal, and then we have Cabo Verde right there. There's that big chain, and you can see all, like I said, all of the underwater peaks popping up because they're all volcanoes. Very cool. All right, let's start over here and just work our way over. So starting over here in El Hierro. What stands out first to me is this huge cliff, which you can definitely tell was a volcano that at some point must have just so hard that it just sank into the water, and that's all that's left of the caldera. Apparently also the word caldera to describe a volcano was invented here in the Canaries. Isn't that neat? Evidently. But take a look at this cliffside. It's so pronounced. Pretty neat, like, backdrop if you live in this area over here. Go Museo. Take a look. Go Museo. Isn't that so pretty? It's gorgeous. All of this volcanic rock used to make homes. Some troglodyte living there. Oh no, that is one of the homes because you can see the thatched roof. That's not a cave. It's so cool. What a fun little place to live. Of course, all of the plants here are just absolutely wild. I feel like you can find a little bit of everything on these islands. It's a big lizardy friend. Yeah, this is a neat... Oh, there's a cool settlement there. I bet it's literally cool too. It's probably nice and cold inside. But yeah. Let's find like a viewpoint. Well, let's look at this cultural park. Actually, then we'll look at this Mirador. Cultural park. Let's see. See this gorgeous landscape here. Look at that beautiful ocean in the background too. All the neat rocks. Beautiful trees, a bunch of skulls there. Pretty much all these museums, because many Guanche communities mummified their dead, so there's a lot of mummies in a bunch of museums here. So just be warned that if we look at some museums, you might see some mummies. There's these big old ravens. I think they're ravens all throughout these islands too. So just be warned of that. Some cool cave art there. Very cool. Let's look at the Mirador, the viewpoint here. Look at all the clouds down below. So pretty. Like if this was the only island we were talking about, like we'd be set with slideshow pictures, wouldn't we? It's so gorgeous, but this is just the start. These are some beautiful, beautiful islands in so many different varieties. Oh, look at that fog. That's so cool. That's beautiful. Little mushroom friends. Beautiful mossy trees. Look at this. My goodness. And not quite the landscape you'd expect in a almost tropical island. The tropics is, I guess technically it is tropical, to be honest. But yeah, there's so much to see over here, but we gotta hop over to another island. There's just way too much to look at. There we go. Let's head to La Palma. And look at this big volcano here. Look at the Roque de los Muchachos. The highest point on the island, where we can see some of those big old birds too. Lots of astronomical telescopes and things up here. The various peaks. Big old telescopes. I almost said satellites, not a satellite. It looks like a raven. I'm pretty sure that's a raven. Gorgeous up here. All these exotic plants you see in like the Andes, right? Looks like we're in the Andes mountains here with all of these cool flowers and bushes. Look at it, all snow covered too. That's amazing. And then here it looks like we're in like a lush forest in like Central Europe. Like, it's wild. Beautiful, beautiful. It's like it alternates between all of these cool landscapes. Over here, this area is known as the, I just blanked on, it's like the Canyon of Anxiety, which, you know, I'm all about as someone with an anxiety disorder. Check this out. Yeah, apparently this means anxiety. Let's find a slideshow. It's all very shadowy here, which tracks, right? I think there's a mirador over here somewhere. Yes, the anxiety viewpoint. Gorgeous. And look at all the beautiful roads along the hillside there. Gorgeous ocean and sunset, clouds rolling off the cliffs. Beautiful sunshine. All this lush plant life, this big river gorge here. So pretty. A big old storm cloud there, which brings beautiful rainbows. Gorgeous sunsets, beautiful golden hour, rugged roads, stunning backdrop there. Another pretty rainbow. Yeah, don't know why it's named Anxiety, but it's gorgeous. I'll have to come here someday. Let's see what else. Oh, here is this national park in the Caldera. And then we'll look at some telescopes. Isn't that cool? Like, where would you think, if I showed you this picture, where would you think this would be? I would probably say, I don't know, maybe like in the Danube area? Or maybe like Siberia? Like lower southern Siberia? Not the Canary Islands. And then you look at this and you think, oh, maybe that's in like Utah or Argentina, Chile. Oh, it's in the Canary Islands. We looked at that big viewpoint. Lots of cool rock formations. That's the Muchachos up there. And all the big telescopes. Gorgeous. Ugh, that's so pretty. Gosh, I would be like, yeah, that has to be like Canada and the Rockies. And then that has to be, you know, Peru or Chile. Maybe Ecuador. Nope, it's in the Canary Islands. Isn't that wild? Look how stunning. Gosh, it looks like a painting. But yeah, look at all of these. If we go over here, they should all start popping up in a second. Beautiful cascada down there. Look at all of the telescopes up here. There's William Herschel Astrophysics Observatory, Isaac Newton telescope. We won't take a look. There are telescopes. You can see those all kinds of places, but yeah, there's a lot of that happening up here. These beautiful clear skies on top of this volcano. Let's look at this area too, on like the outskirts of the volcano, which is all very thickly, beautifully forested. Little canal there, irrigation probably. Big scary caves, all lush and green. Little picnic area and a beautiful green spot. Gosh, it's lovely. This is like a nature paradise, isn't it? Beautiful waterfalls and streams. Perfect place to go hiking, backpacking. Look at the stream going through the cave. Big waterfalls, and you can splash around there in what I'm sure is very cold water. Big ferns, big trees. It's so pretty. So pretty. But yeah, there's also a lot more to see on this island, but we gotta move on to Gomera, which this is the park that we read about on UNESCO, Garahone. You can see it's very green here in the middle. Subtropical plant species, so not tropical, subtropical. Look at this. Isn't it? Gosh. That's like when I picture like a haunted wood. I see this all moss covered and wild, everything growing. And these huge rocks. Maybe it's a volcanic plug. That was lava that shot up and then hardened. Maybe. Looks like it. This big, beautiful valley area. Which all that volcanic soil creates all of this incredible vegetation. Look at this pretty moss-covered forest. All the ferns. It's so pretty. My goodness, it's lovely. Oh, I just want to get lost in it. And these huge rock formations. Absolutely incredible. This might have to be these islands might have to be top 5 most beautiful places on the planet, to be honest. There's just so much natural splendor all throughout these islands. Some terraced farming there as well. Can you see? Very cool. Goodness, there's so much to show you guys. What else do we show you next? There's another museum up here. Again, warning, there might be mummies and skeletons. Let me see. Oh no, it's just beautiful plants. Let's look at the beautiful plants. Oh, I have a hiccup. I think they're gone. Okay. These look like banana trees, I'm guessing. Birds of paradise. Big palm trees. Some more gorgeous terraced farming. These cute homes too. Maybe lemons right there. And some very desert looking trees. I don't know how else to describe it. What are those? They look like cucumbers, but that's not how cucumbers grow. Big melony guys, I guess. All kinds of fruits growing here. Maybe guava? Mangoes? Mangoes? Are those mangoes that aren't ripe? Maybe. Sweet goat. Lots of cool things. Some ancient artifacts there, but we're super zoomed out. Maybe limes. These cool flowers. So tall. Yeah, look at all the various trees. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, different farmers brought all kinds of various crops here. Gosh, I don't know what else to. There's so much to show you. I haven't shown you any beaches yet, but I'm saving that for Tenerife. Of course, Tenerife is a massive tourist hotspot. Let's look at Casas de Cuevas Blancas. Wow. Some cave homes, like I mentioned. Very cool. Yeah, I feel like Tenerife is the most famous island, right? It's the most populous and it's the most touristy. But all of these other islands have so much to offer as well. Why don't we hop over there? Take a look at Tenerife. Starting, of course, with Taida National Park. You can see the big, let's put in 3D. There we go. You can see the big peak up here. Very famous rock right there. And yeah, it's like you're in a desert world. I would say like maybe New Mexico, maybe Australia. But nope, Canary Islands. All these cool rocks. So many different shapes. I'm sure they're all windswept volcanic rocks. It's very, like, out of this world. It's almost a little bit Martian in a way. Big peak there. The highest peak in Spain. Even though it's not technically in Spain, right? Not technically. There's another park over here. Corona Forestal, where you can see all of the green that a big volcano creates over time. See, here you can tell that this was once upon a time just destroyed with volcanic eruption, lava, pyroclastic flow, and all of the trees have been growing back in this area. So once you've driven through or I've driven through volcanic areas, and you see this greenery come back, you pretty much identify that you're in a volcanic area. Look at this rock. It's incredible. How could that have happened? There's the sea out there. Beautiful viewpoint. Yeah, creates all of this lush green. And look at these amazing plants here. Trees, I think. It's just every variety of green, it seems like. Every type of tree you can find here. Some hoodoos as well. Very cool. It's only a couple places in the world you can find hoodoos like that. Or fairy chimneys, as they're also known. Some observatories here as well. Taking advantage of this big sky and this high elevation. Tenerife. So yeah, as I was saying, the geography portion, very green up here. And then very dry down here. So let's look down and find a beach before we head up to Santa Cruz. Here we go. Let's look at this one. Submarine safaris. We're going to have to look at that. Ooh, this is a very rugged beach. This is not a very typical beach. Not a good example, but still very beautiful. Let's look at submarine safaris. I'm all about that. That's something I would want to do. And we can go underwater. Let's see, it looks like little anchovies. There's the submarine. Big old rays. Look out and see all the fishies. That looks so fun. They got some scuba going on. You can go pet some rays. What is that? Some kind of cool long fish. Here's a little guide. Let's see if we can. Trumpet fish, it's called. That's so cool. Yeah, I want to go on a submarine safari and see the sea stars. Oh, they got a Viking ship there. That's neat. Wow. That's amazing. Oh, pretty cliffs there as well. All right, let's go find a beach up north where all the tourists are. See how different the landscape is down here compared to there's the mountain. Up here, it's two different worlds. Incredible, incredible. Look at that big mountain. All right. Let's go check out Santa Cruz de Tenerife. So if people say I went to Tenerife, 99% chance they're talking about this town. So let's find, this area is pretty neat. It's like it's a botanical garden, it says. You can see the opera house there in the main city, amongst all of this neat plant life. So cool. Yeah, nice view of the city there. Some cacti, palm trees, lots of tropical plants. There's the opera house. Very cool. See, there it is right there. We need a beach. Oh, here's the original fortifications in Tenerife. Old cannon memorial there, I think, or some kind of site designating it. This cool stuff. Cool statues. Talking about the battles. 1797. That was when Horatio Nelson attempted to invade. That must be when this fort was destroyed, I'm guessing. Cool museum here for that. Let's see. Yeah, they got lots of tourists. Like there's an illusion museum. Here's a carnival museum, which I love these carnival museums because, like, carnival costumes are always so different depending on where you are in the world, but they're always like, bam. They're always, bam. Look at that headdress. Goodness, look at this one. So pretty, all these masks. Bam. All those feathers. Holy moly. How do you even wear this? That's incredible. Wow. I love it. I love it. I love the outfit too. It was so pretty. Oh, that's a beautiful dress. Look at this. It's like Marie Antoinette style. Oh, it looks like some Native American inspired ones. Look at that. So pretty. Wow. Like a 1920s style, flapper style. Little fairies. Incredible. What is happening here? It's like a Amelia Earhart surrounded by giraffes. I'm not sure what's happening on that float. Gorgeous. Love it. Love it. Wow. Yeah, it's so cool how carnival outfits are always so different, but they're always like crazy, crazy, crazy. That would be a fun museum to go to. But yeah, we need to find a beach. Tenerife's known for its beaches. This is like the port. Here we go. I see it play out there. We need a beach. This is a rocky beach. This is also a very rocky beach. What the? I feel like I saw so many beaches. Where'd they all go? You can see some. This is all the port area. We need to go to the beach area. Here we go. I just went right past it. Let's see. I think this is where we want to be. Here we go. A black sand beach. Yeah, I should have come here first. So pretty. Wow. Amazing sunset there. But yeah. You get it. You've all seen beaches. There's like every island here is beautiful beaches. This is San Cristobal, which the historic area is a UNESCO site. You can see down there. This is the cathedral that the town is based around. Or not. This is 1904. Okay, that wasn't the one. I thought it was. San Cristobal de la Laguna. Oh well, I guess not. Anthropological Museum, or History of Tenerife, which again, there's probably a bunch of skeletons and mummies in here. Let me check. don't see any. I swear, you guys. Most of these museums I saw had mummies and things. In this old house here, you can see the beautiful courtyard, old carriage. Nativity there. Yeah, this isn't the museum I'm thinking of, but I thought that was the old. Then where is the? I could have sworn. Maybe it's this one. Let's see. This is almost a twin. Tenerife. The first parish established. Oh yeah, maybe this is the old church. But yeah, we have too much to look at old churches. But yeah, that's that town. You can see the main airport for Tenerife is there. There is a neat tree in a town over here. This one, it's a dragon tree. You can tell I was just looking at it. Big dragon tree. And apparently it's 1,000 years old. Just chilling here in this town. With all these other amazing trees here. Very pretty. Goodness, there's so much to show you. My tablet's crashing. 1 second, let's let it figure itself out, and there it goes. Awesome. Bring it back. Thank you. But yeah. Now, where did I see all the cool beaches? Look, here's some over here. I feel like, yeah, here we go. This is more like it. This is what I'm talking about. All the touristy beaches. You can go swim in the ocean. Enjoy the sun. This is the kind of beach I'm talking about. It's gorgeous. It's perfect. That's what I'm talking about. Looks like a little volcano right there. Let me look. Montaña. Hope it has a nice view of the town, but you can't really see the mountain. Very cool. So that's good old Tenerife. Again, there's so much to see here. I highly recommend that. Let's look at this up here real quick. I highly recommend that you poke around these islands for yourself and see. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. There's a cool beach right there. And big waves. Goodness, it's magical. It's so beautiful. And these islands, it's unreal. Look at this. I don't even have words. I can't even describe what I'm looking at. It's just stunning, gorgeous scenery. Just what happens when you have volcanoes erupting here, creating all of these neat shapes in the landscape, all of these lush plant life, and then you've had so many people visit here throughout history, bringing all kinds of plants and things with them. On to Gran Canaria, and let's start here in the middle. Pico de las Nieves. And yeah, like I said, they call this the continent because it has pretty much everything you can think of. Look at these amazing rocks here. There's the clouds, Las Nieves, an astronomical center there by the looks of it. All these amazing trees. Oh, that's so pretty. Gorgeous clouds rolling over the mountain. This kind of looks like a fire, but it's probably just golden hour, to be honest. My cats are making noise in the background. Don't mind them. Oh, that's a cool rock right there. There's a big old hole in it. And here's what it looks like on a snowy day. You don't really think about snow in places like this. Here's another park. Let's look at this landscape. Much drier, but just as beautiful. Wow, look. Oh my gosh. it doesn't look real. It's all so gorgeous. And they got dolphins. So pretty. Perfect place to park your bike and enjoy all these cacti. Look at all the cacti there. That big old palm tree. Look at that. Incredible. They got a big old tortoise. Look at that. So neat. This landscape is unreal. I can't get over it. I'm sorry I'm repeating myself. Look at the orchids. But like, so what do you do when you have all of this beauty? My goodness. And you can see all the different slideshows here you can look at. Camel safari, that's fun. There's so much to see. Over here is Las Palmas. Bet you there's a museum here full of mummies. Do you think? I don't know. I swear, like every museum I tapped on was just, there was one that only had pictures of skeletons. And I was like, what's happening? But now, of course, I'm not running into any of them. It's wild. Yeah, it's the more industrial. That's the big port. Here's the main city. Let's just look at the town slideshow. Let's see what we can find. There's some cool stuff around here. Oh, I can show you this, actually. What's left of this old fort. We just got to go along the coast till we find it. There we go. Lots of stuff named San Cristobal, and I wonder if that's because Cristobal Colombo, Christopher Columbus himself, actually stopped at these islands in 1492 on his voyage out what then was the unknown. The Virginia Company sailed to found Jamestown in Virginia, stopped here. The first fleet on their way to Australia stopped here. Alexander Humboldt stopped here. Like, so many famous people. But yeah, looks like that's all that's left of that little fort there, or castillo. I hope that's being like preserved because it looks like the ocean's about to swallow it up. Gorgeous. Yeah, I've been playing around in these slideshows for a few days now and trying to figure out the ones to show you, and they're all perfect. They're all beautiful. My goodness. It's like I can't, they're all good. Small cave monument. What does that mean? Whoa, cool rocks. Oh. Silencio. Be quiet. Choose the aim and love the path. Okay. Look at this. It's incredible. All this cool desert landscape. Oh, there's another cool hole on the rock. That must be the cave monument. Maybe it's a little place to pray or something. I'm not sure. Someone's made a cool shell thing there. Oh, and that's neat too. Someone like twisted those palm leaves into a neat shape. Yeah, I want to spend 500 years showing you these islands, but I can't. I've got more to show you. So here is Fuerteventura, and as you can see, it is very dry and deserty. It looks like the Sahara, but much more mountainous. Look at this. Very windswept, of course. Very brown. There's some Guanche statues there. I was reading all kinds of stories about the various kingdoms and realized it's like way too much information. Kind of like trying to list all the volcano eruptions. It's just too much. So much has happened in these islands throughout history. Pretty. Look at these amazing rocks here, all windswept. Amazing. But yeah, there's a big sandy area up here. Let's take a look. sand everywhere. Go, what, kite surfing, windsurfing? Wow. Oh, it's a beautiful picture of the ocean there, the sand. Very rocky, pretty casa. This dry vegetation. It's a little resort right there. It's so pretty. And then, you see, like, look at all of the sandy areas here. I'm sure it's just Sahara sand just being deposited as it blows over, right? But look at this down here. Look at all of this. Let's find a good slideshow that kind of shows you what's happening over here. Maybe, actually, let's just look at one of these beaches. Amazing. Such cool rocks here. Wow. But yeah, it's all of this sand. Oh, pretty sunbeams there. All of this just twisted rock and sand as far as the eye can see, it feels like. Look how cool. All these rocks have been shaped by wind and storms and the ocean. Big waves there. But yeah, big old dry desert area. Let's look here real quick. Andia. Amazing. It's like a whole other world. No trees anywhere. Incredible. Wow. See, I'd say, is this Patagonia, maybe? Nope, it's the Canary Islands. So gorgeous. Oh, wow, it's a cool building too. Alright, then moving on. Here we go. What you see first? Lanzarote. You can see the little islands out there as well. And look at this incredible volcanic landscape. All this black soil. Take a look. Shaped from huge eruptions that have happened. Some of which have been very devastating. But it creates this weird lunar landscape. The big steam right there. Makes you feel like you're on Mars or something. Like they're barbecuing in the ground. Look at this big old steam vent, all the tourists here watching. Very cool. Oh, I didn't show you the other volcanoes that I mentioned, the brand new ones on La Palma. We'll look at that after this. Maybe we'll end the video over there. But yeah, isn't this incredible? Look at all the camels all ready to go. They're all saddled up. And make sure they don't spit. Beautiful cliffs here. Crashing waves. All this black soil. Which again, like I said, they use it for the wineries. See all the little volcanoes here. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, look at this big one called Terra Blanca, the white volcano there. And then of course all of this great landscape over here. Some more black soil. Let's look at this one. Oh, pretty. Much greener than down south. A lot more plant life thriving in this volcanic soil. Oh, a very big bloom there. Beautiful. Which island is your favorite, guys? I can't decide. They're all so neat in so many different ways. I really can't decide. I don't think I have a favorite. I think I like them all. Let's see, look at all the volcanic landscape all throughout. Sorry, see Faye, the capital there of this island. But yeah, there's just too much to show you. Let me show you the new volcanoes down here. We only looked up there. I didn't show you down here. This big row of volcanoes. I think this is the one that erupted right here. I think we'll end it here. Look at the tons of lava, all the ash spewing out. Let's end it here. Even though I want to look at more. My back is actually hurting from being hunched over the tablet for so long. And I have so much more to film tonight. But as always, I highly encourage you, as I've said before, to explore these islands yourself because there's just too much to see. Look at this eruption. Wow. I wish is there a date on this? Yeah, 2021. Big eruption. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this style of content, please consider subscribing. Look at this, just destroyed this whole community here. Wow. Ooh, look at that. Oof. Ooh. Yikes. It's rolling down the hill through this neighborhood. Look at all the lava. Wow, it's scary. Oh, and look at the lava hitting the water, creating new land. Oh, it's all buried. Goodness, goodness, goodness. And that's no good for that house. Wow, that's a beautiful picture. Gosh, it's otherworldly. Let's look at one more. Ruta de los Volcanes. But yes, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you're still awake watching this, give this a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. There's a new feature called Hype. You can hype videos. Everyone gets hype points. If this video is, if you're watching this in the 3 days since I uploaded it and you're on mobile, you can go down to the section where the likes are and everything and click hype, and that will help promote these videos. I'd appreciate that as well. There's way too many calls to action now. But also, please consider subscribing if you enjoyed this. Next, we're going to head over to Uruguay and show you some more beautiful beaches and coastlines over there. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. Cool pine cones. And I hope that you have a good